Hello. Hello, how's everyone? My name is Gizem. Nice to meet you. Yes, you too. Thank you, Abby. I need to reject the people coming in. Are you good? Are you guys all right? All right, let's start with our class then. As I've said, my name is Gizem. If that's hard for you, you can also call me Gigi. They're both all right. During the class, we will have our speaking session, of course, and it's advisable for you to speak as much as you can because this is a really good practice for you. So if you speak during the workshop, that would be really helpful for you in the exam. Now I will share my screen really quickly and we can start. All right, can you all see my screen? I think you should be able to. And if I do it full screen, can you see it on the full screen right now? I don't think so. No, all right. Let's try this one. What about now? I think it's somehow like in fullish screen. All right, really good. So as we've said, we will have our speaking workshop today, and it would be really good if you spoke in this workshop, but you can also use the chat box to answer me anytime. I can see all the things that you write in the chat box. They're both fine. Now let's start. So I see some familiar names that have attended before, and as they all know, and as those of you will know, we start our classes with a tongue twister, which is somewhat like harder to kind of pronounce and read because they have similar sounds in them. So, for example, in this tongue twister, we will have a lot of like B's and D, birdie, turdy kind of sounds, and we will try to pronounce them together. We will try to read this. I will read it first, and I will ask you to read it after me, for those of you who want it, of course. But it's really good practice for your speaking exam because there you might have to like pronounce some similar sounds like this, and it will help you with your pronunciation really well. So let's start with the tongue twister. I will read it first. So, birdie, birdie in the sky, lay the turdy in my eye. If cows could fly, I'd have a cow pie in my eye. So, these two sentences are kind of like similar in terms of sounds. Does anyone want to try? I can read it again. Yes, Bobby, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, ma'am. Okay. Birdie, birdie in the sky, laid a turdy in my eye. If cow could fly, I'd have a cow pie in my eye.
Yes, thank you. Really good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Uh, really good. I would just add one thing. So you said I would have a cow. Can you try to do it like I'd have a cow instead of saying I would?
I'd have a cow.
Yes, thank you. Perfect.
Thank you,
Because
ma'am. Yeah.
speaking exam, the speaking exam is the same for both academic IELTS and general IELTS, and they kind of want you to speak in a daily manner. So while talking like in a daily conversation, we usually try to use contractions, right? So we don't say I would, but instead we say I'd, right? So these contractions really help you with your score. Actually, they help you get a better score in IELTS speaking. That's why I wanted to like point that out. And Mohsen asks me in the chat box where I'm from. I'm from Turkey. I've been an English teacher for 9 years. Yes. Any questions or anyone who wants to try the tongue twister? If not, let's move on. We can always come back. So, today you will learn about some tips and strategies regarding the speaking section, speaking exam in IELTS. And sorry for the sound, they're just people coming in to attend the class, and I have to reject them because we have like 8 people. Um, So, we will talk about some tips and strategies. Then, we will learn about some necessary vocabulary that you can use in the speaking section. Then, we will talk about some questions. We will discuss some questions together, and this is the part where you should really join and speak to practice for your exam. Then we will learn about some idioms and collocations, again, that will help you with your speaking exam that you might use and will increase your points tremendously. And let's start with the discussion. So, do you know today's subject? What will we talk about today? Anyone? You can use the chat box or you can raise your hand and I will give you permission to speak. And you can use this image as an example. Yes, we will talk about movies today. Our topic today is movies. Video and movie directions. Yes, we can talk about that too. And our first discussion question today is, do people in your country like to go to a cinema to watch a film, to watch a movie? For example, in my country, I think people like to go to cinema to watch a movie, but it's really expensive. So people usually prefer to stay at home and watch their movies on Netflix or things like that, like Disney Plus. They usually prefer those. What about you? You can raise your hand or you can use the chat box. You can unmute yourself. Yes, Abby, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. Usually in my country, most of the people prefer to go into cinema and watch a movie, newly released movie. But I must say, after coming this OTT platform, so worldwide, so it is now becoming less popular in cinema to watch movies rather than earlier.
Mhm. I think so too. I think that's the change in the world, like in general,
But
right?
yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is it
Thank you.
okay, ma'am? Like 2 to 3 sentence only?
Sorry?
Is it okay for first question 2 to 3 or 4 sentence
Yes,
for
yes,
speak up?
definitely. For the
Yeah,
first question in the speaking exam,
yeah.
so to start with the beginning, in the speaking exam, there are three sections. The first one is where you give rather short but detailed answers. For example, you can say like 3 to 4 sentences, and you can speak around 40 seconds for each question. And this was
Okay,
an
ma'am.
okay answer, yes, but I would advise you to kind of try to paraphrase the sentences. So, for example, instead of saying going to cinema, we can say, let's say, going to the mall and see a movie
Sure,
there.
sure. Yeah, sure, ma'am.
But I did that too, so I used the same sentence structure as well. That will kind of develop as you practice.
Sure, ma'am, definitely.
Yeah. Any others? Any others who want to answer this question? All right. If you don't like this question that much, or if you don't have anything to say, let's move on to today's objective, and then we can come back to that question if anyone wants to answer later on. So, in this class, you will learn about your preferences for movies. Sorry, you will learn to talk about your preferences for movies, your favorite movie, your opinions about the cinemas and movies. And we will kind of try to talk about all these using different structures and different vocabularies together. Any questions before we move on? Or anyone who wants to answer the first question? Do people in your country like to go to cinema? No? All right. Then let's move on. So, our first tip and strategy for today is it's really important to understand the question and give a relevant response while speaking. So, for example, if the question asks you, do people in your country visit or go to cinema to watch a movie? And you kind of could not understand that question that much, you can always ask the examiner to repeat the question or to clarify the question a bit. And then giving your relevant but detailed response. And the second tip is to be specific and give detailed information. So, in an answer, while answering a question, you should always try to give examples and explanation sentences, those supporting ideas, to support your main argument. So, for example, if the question is again, do people in your country go to cinemas? You can say, yes, they go to cinemas a lot, they prefer to go to the cinema, but lately that has changed. Now people usually use Netflix and Disney Plus to watch their favorite movies, and they don't go to the cinema that much because it's really expensive and it's time consuming, for example. So you can give those supporting ideas to support your general arguments, basically. And while speaking, you will make some errors. We all make some errors, right? But when you make a mistake, what you do is actually matters. So if you make a mistake in the exam, and you will make a mistake, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Instead, correct your mistake if you can do it really quickly and keep on speaking. But if correcting that mistake will take up your time, so for example, if you will stop while correcting that mistake, I would advise you to just skip it, not even correct it, and then keep on speaking, because that really matters, not thinking on what you're going to say in a certain amount of time for a certain amount of time. So if you make an error, basically, if you can do it quickly, correct your mistake. If not, just leave it be. And lastly, while speaking in the speaking exam, you should really look confident and smile, because that kind of affects how you approach the other person, and in the end the band score that you're going to get. Because if you look confident, you will also feel confident, and that will affect your speaking too, not only your looks. Now we will have the vocabulary part of this class. So here you can see on the left side the English words, sorry, nouns, adjectives, whatever, that we will match with their definition, which are on the right side. So these are all related to movies, and while talking about our favorite shows or not so favorite shows. And we will try to learn these and then later use them in our answers so that we can kind of learn about them and remember them while speaking too. So, do you know the first word, plotline, and what it means? Plotline. You can use the chat box or you can speak, you can raise your hand. They're both all right. Anyone? So plotline, basically, yes, lines which had a plot, but also it's about a movie. You're confused. All right. So plotline is the story of a book, a film, or something. So A. Plotline is basically the story. So basically, for example, if you're talking about, let's say, James Bond movie, and if you say this happens first, and then this happens, and then that happens, you will explain the plot line. Basically, plot line is what happens in that movie, generally. So plot line is A. One is A. And what about sequel? Do you know what sequel means? Sequel. So for example, someone said D. Yes, a few of you said D. A book, film, play, etc. that continues the story of an earlier one. So the sequels are the second, third, fourth movies that kind of continue the same series. All right. What about the third one? Heartwarming. Heartwarming. Do you know what it means? Very happy. Yes. So it's basically causing feelings of happiness and pleasure. F, definitely. Yes, Mohsen. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
No, ma'am. I was just saying to that heartwarming means
I cannot
causing
hear
feelings of
you very
happiness and
clearly. I'm so sorry.
sorry, ma'am. You can continue.
Kind of. Go ahead. Are you there? All right, I'll come back to you then. So heartwarming is F, causing feelings of happiness and pleasure. It's an adjective. Um, so as Josephine said in the chat box, she used it in a sentence. It was heartwarming movie I watched. Yes, it kind of like that. It is kind of like that, and we will have those example sentences in a moment. What about the fourth one? Laugh riot, which is an expression. G, all right, a riot of laughter, something hilarious, something really funny, and it's also used frequently as sarcastically. Yes, laugh riot. What about the protagonist, which is a noun? Yes, the main character, H, one of the main characters in a story or play. So, for example, in the James Bond movie, James Bond would be the protagonist of that story. What about the sixth one? Intriguing. Intriguing. So it's an adjective. Intriguing. So intriguing is I. Very interesting because of being unusual or mysterious. So it's kind of really interesting. You don't know what's going to happen, and you're kind of wondering what's going to happen next. Intriguing is that. What about the seventh one? Blockbuster. C, yes. Seven is C. It's something very successful, especially a very successful book or a movie or a film is a blockbuster. Yes. What about the eighth one? Nail biting. E, yes. So when something is nail biting, it makes you feel very excited or anxious because you don't know what's going to happen. Kind of similar to intriguing, but intriguing has that like mysterious thing, but nail biting is more like that excited state of mind. And the ninth one is, well, it's only one left. Yes, B. Someone who is interested in films and has a large collection of physical or digital copies is a film buff. So if I'm someone who is really interested and into movies, you can call me a film buff, basically. All right. Now, let's use these words in sentences, filling in the blanks. Let's read the first one. So the first one says, I have started to watch a something to the hit movie Lord of the Rings. What do you think the first one is? What do you think should be in the first blank? I have started to watch a something movie Lord of the Rings. Can it be protagonist, for example? What does it mean? And the correct answer is on the chat box. Yes, it's a sequel. I have started to watch a sequel to the hit movie Lord of the Rings. So basically, this person watched or started to watch the second movie, let's say, of Lord of the Rings, the sequel. All right, what about the second one? So Lion King is a something movie. It makes me happy all the time. What do you think that Lion King movie is if it makes me happy? Yes, heartwarming, as a lot of you have said on the chat box. Lion King is a heartwarming movie. It makes me happy all the time. Yes. What about the next one? Alex is a something film buff. Yes, definitely. Alex is a film buff. He watching movies is his primary hobby, so he likes it a lot. All right. What about the next one? Harry Potter is a something, everyone knows it. Yes, a protagonist. Harry Potter is a protagonist. But if we say Harry Potter is a protagonist, another sentence won't get that meaning it wants to get. The sixth one. What do you think the sixth one is? You're right, Harry Potter is a protagonist, but here it's not really talking about the sentence, the fourth sentence is not talking about Harry Potter as a character, but as Harry Potter as the movie. So what do you think Harry Potter as the movie is a something? Everyone knows it. So everyone knows that movie. Yes, the sixth one is protagonist actually. The main protagonist is a cruel, selfish man. The main character, in other words. And what do you think is the Harry Potter one, the fourth one? The Harry Potter one. Blockbuster. Yes, definitely. A lot of you said it in the comments. So Harry Potter is a blockbuster. Everybody knows it. So it has a huge success, right? It's the blockbuster. And what about the fifth one? It's been a something couple of weeks waiting for my results. Yes, it's definitely nail biting. It's been a nail biting couple of weeks waiting for my results. So I was very anxious. I didn't know which result I'm going to get. So it's been a something couple of weeks. We've already done the sixth one. Let's go to the seventh. So I love Family Guy. That show is a total something. It's hilarious. What do you think that means? I will look at the chat in a moment. So some of you said love, right? And some of you said intriguing. Let's discuss. For example, those of you who said love riot, why do you think that is the case? And those who said intriguing, why do you think that is the case? You can speak up. You can open your microphones, raising your hands, or you can use the chat box. Yes, Abby, go ahead. Abby, you may speak.
Yeah, ma'am.
Go ahead.
For seventh, I love Family Guy. Like that shows in a total laugh riot. Actually, here it is talking about like comedy parts or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a hilarious one. So it
Mm-hmm.
is talking about comedy movie and all. So we
Yeah,
can say that it's a
talking about
laugh
the
riot.
sound quality, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
ma'am. So that is
definitely.
why for it we will say hilarious. It's intriguing.
Yeah, so the last one is intriguing
Yeah,
because
ma'am.
it says it has many intriguing points. So it's really intriguing. Sorry, it has many interesting qualities, so it's intriguing. It's very interesting for us. So that documentary is very intriguing. It has many interesting points. Perfect. Do you have any questions regarding these words, their definitions, their uses? Any questions about the vocabulary part? No? All right. So let's move on then. So we will have our small talk. We will try to answer these questions with 2 to 3 sentences. So the first question today is, do you like to watch films or movies, and why? Anyone wants to go first? Yes, Abby, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, Coming to this, I can say I cannot get enough of watching movies. And mostly I prefer to watch like sci-fi and animated movie. And more than that, as I belong from India, so it is very famous here, a Bollywood film. So mostly I like to watch a Bollywood film.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank
Any
you, ma'am.
others? Any others? Please, it's more fun. This class is more fun if you join the class and speak. Yes, Wahi.
I love to watch movies, but only in my spare time because sometimes the movies addiction is wasting our time. But I love to watch scientific movies, like I'm scientific enthusiast and technologies movies. Uh, and rather than that, I love to watch also comedy movies, but only in my spare time.
All right, thank you so much. Any others? So Josephine wrote in the chat box, I will read her answer. I'm not a movie buff. During COVID, I started to watch many international movies. So Josephine's answer is in the chat box. I read it for her. And she used the word movie buff, which was kind of trying to use what she has learned, which is very good. I would encourage you to do the same. Try to do the same at least. Yes, Mohsin, go ahead.
I like to watch films because sometimes we can relate with the characters of films in with our life. That's why it's with the because film has a purpose to entertain us, and it has also a purpose of some educational values. That's why I used to like watch movies.
Thank you so much. Really good. Any others? No? All right, let's move on to the second part of this. So we can say I like, but we've already talked about that. Let's talk about the second question. So, what kinds of movies do you like best and why? What kinds of movies do you like best and why? So, for example, I enjoy watching really comedy movies because I want to laugh in my spare time because life is already stressful enough. And when I watch movies, I usually watch for fun. So, I kind of tend to choose those movies which are making me laugh. What about you? This was like a, yeah, yes, Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. For this, I definitely say a comedy movie. Actually, it increases my dopamine as well as it always allow me to laugh with all the extent actually. And by watching comedy movies, you definitely feel very relaxed and happy, even if you have like running or struggling with bad situations in your daily life. So I most prefer prefer to watch comedy movie.
Mm-hmm.
I
Thank you.
mostly prefer. Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So in your answer, overall it was really good, but and I'm saying this to all of you, try not to say you that much because yes, you're having like a daily conversation, but it's also somewhat has that like hierarchy, right? The examiner is not our friend. He or she is our examiner. So um, I think we shouldn't say you, but we can say instead we as humans, or we as people, we as society, because they give the same meaning, right? So when we say you, we actually mean people in general. So we can just say people in general or we. That would be better. And yeah, I think that was it. Any questions or any answers? What kind of movies do you like best? All right. By the way, for those of you who are just attending this class the first time, I usually give some band scores to you depending on your speeches, your answers, and I tell you what they are at the end of the class, and I tell you what your overall score can be if you speak or answer the questions like you are doing right now. And those scores, and I also give feedbacks. Those scores and feedbacks, I think, are really helpful because we cannot kind of evaluate ourselves, our own speaking, really well. We kind of tend to do it better while speaking to other actual people. I That's why I think you should try to speak and participate in this class. That will be the most helpful for your speaking exam, basically. That was just a reminder. If there are any of you who wants to answer this question, you can go ahead, raise your hand. Yes, Wahi, thank you. Waji. What is it? What is the correct pronunciation? I'm sorry.
It is Vaji.
Waji, all right, go ahead.
So, as I said in my previous answer, I love to watch technology movies because I'm more attached to technology, and it gives me more knowledge and attachment to technology. And but sometimes when I'm in stress or in a bad mood, you can say, so then I love to watch comedy movies because it feels me relax and laugh, and then get back to my work. So it helped me in that sense. And the technology movies helped me um, to know more about technologies. So that's the reason I like these type of movies.
All right, thank you so much. Really good answer. And you've also talked about your reasons for those. Abby also talked about the reasons for that as well. That was really good. And let's talk about three things that we can say while answering this question. So the first one is I am fond of. You can also say I'm fond of, like in a really short manner. You can say I'm keen on or I'm really into. Basically, they all mean kind of the same, they're similar. So they all kind of mean I like something. So instead of repeating the question saying I like, we can say I'm fond of, I'm keen on, or I'm really into. So, for example, you can say I'm fond of comedy movies. I'm keen on watching horror stories, or I'm really into romantic comedy, let's say. You can use any of these to give the same meaning as like or enjoy, basically. And if you don't know any of these, I would suggest you to write it down right now and try to kind of incorporate them in your answers later on. So I'm fond of, I'm keen on, and I'm really into. And make sure that you use a noun after each of these. So don't say, I'm fond of watch movies. Instead, say, I'm fond of watching movies, or I'm fond of movies, basically. So make sure that you use a noun after each of these. All right. Any questions before we move on? Did you take notes? I'm yes. Any questions? No. All right. Let's move on. So this is the third question. As you can see on the screen, there's a cinema image, right? And the question is, how often do you go to cinema to watch a movie, and why? And let's try to use the things that we've learned here. I'm fond of, I'm keen on, or I'm really into. So, for example, I'm really into going to cinema because it's a really good outdoor activity for me, but I cannot remember the last time I went to cinema because it's been so long. Uh, First, there was the COVID, the coronavirus, and then we had a lockdown, and I had already forgotten how to spend time outside instead of my home. So I don't remember actually the last time I went to a movie, but I think it was to watch Joker maybe 2 years ago. So it was so long ago. What about you guys? Yes, Abby, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I must say, before COVID, I'm really into it to going cinema, watch movies on a regular basis. But after this pandemic hit globally, after then we are very fond, like we are into like watching on OTT rather than going to cinema and all. But after the lockdown, like closes, after then. I remember that my first movie after COVID is Avengers. It's a sequel of Avenger. So I really like enjoyed that movie, and I'm really fond of watching Avengers series. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Thank you so
that's
much. Really good
thank you,
answer.
ma'am.
Uh-huh. It's really detailed and it was relevant to the question. You've had some few grammar mistakes. So you said, while talking about the past, you said I am. You should have said I was. But it's really all right because you made that mistake only once. So the examiner will know that it was just like a slip rather than saying that you don't know how to use past tense, basically. Really good. Yes, Waji, go ahead. Waji.
I used to go to cinema back in my college life a lot with my friends and with my other neighbor friends. But after that, some responsibilities come in my life, and then there was no time. But yeah, recently after the COVID, I started to watch movies, the new movies of Bollywood and Hollywood, which are screening in near by my cinema. So yeah, I go with my friends on on weekends. Not every weekend, but alternative weekends, I can say. So
Mhm. That's really, really good. And I will ask an extra question to all of you. Is going to the cinema an expensive activity in your hometown, or is it rather cheap and you can afford it, like anyone can afford it? I'm asking this to all of you. Yes, Abby, go ahead.
I must say in my area, like it. Obviously, in India, actually, it is not as much as like expensive for like going to cinema and watch movies. It is like really affordable to everyone, actually, either or it's middle class family or it's a higher society, or if it's for a lower family as well. So it's
Mhm.
hardly like a charge up to 150 to 250 or 300 rupees. So it
All
is
right.
really affordable to us
Thank you
to
so
watch.
much. Really good
Yeah, ma'am.
answer. You've had like
Thank you,
different
ma'am.
words there too, like different vocabulary. Really good. Anyone else? All right. Let's move on then. I just wanted to know. Yes, Vaji, go ahead. Thank you.
The prices of cinema was lower back in 2018 before the COVID time, but recently due to war in the Ukraine and the economic crisis all over the world, uh, as we know that all the prices are going high, but same impact is on the cinema. So the prices are now higher as compared to the back in 2018, 17, and before.
Mhm. Really good and really good comparison there compared to really good. Thank you. Let's move on to the discussion part. So, this is the second part of your IELTS speaking exam. In the first one, you will get questions like these personal questions, I might say, depending on your related to your hometown, your family, your likes and dislikes. And the second part is where they ask you to describe something, and you will have 1 minute to prepare your answer and 2 minutes to speak, and you're advised to speak more than 1.5 minutes. Even though you cannot speak for 2 whole minutes, you're advised to speak for more than 1.5 minutes to get a good grade, more than band 7. And this is the question. As you can see on the screen, you will have 1 minute to prepare, starting right now, while I ask and read this question to you. So basically, we're asking you to describe your favorite movie, and you should say what the film is about, what do you like, why do you like it so much, and what message does the movie give. So you have 1 minute to prepare, and then you can speak for 2 minutes. I will time you, and I will tell you to start and stop speaking, and we'll give you a band score on that. And you can also use the word seer, as we have learned, sequel, plotline, protagonist, any one of them. So your favorite movie. And it's really hard to kind of come up with just one movie when someone asks you what's our favorite or favorite movie or music or whatever. But in IELTS, what you say really doesn't matter. They just want you to speak, and they want to see if you can use a variety of vocabulary and different grammatical structures in your answer. So you can say Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie, or Game of Thrones is my favorite series. They don't care. Who wants to go first? If you're hesitant to go first, we can read the example answer, and you can also, yes, 1 minute. I kind of I'm kind of giving you that 1 minute while also speaking. So you can both uh, listen to me and then try to have that preparation time, basically. All right, let's start with the example the answer, and then we can move on to your answers, let's say. So our example answer is that I admit to being somewhat of a film junkie. I love spending my free time watching films at home or at the cinema. There's one film, however, that I can rewatch endless times without getting bored. It's none other than the classic animated film The Lion King, produced by Walt Disney Pictures, which I saw at a local film theater with my mom when I was a kid. It's a complex children's film that still holds up to this day, and I use that classification quite loosely, though, as it is basically Hamlet's reworked version for a younger audience. It's a film surrounded by beautiful artwork from the beginning to the ending, with incredibly talented and memorable voice actors and music that still is sung almost 30 years later. The film follows the life story of Simba, a lion cub who is destined to become king of Pride Rock. Unfortunately for him, his scheming uncle Scar has other plans as Simba's birth pushes his claim to the throne down the line. After an attempt on his life that takes his father's own, Simba is left to die as an exile in savannah, where he is discovered and taken in by a warthog named Pumbaa and a meerkat by the name of Timon. They raised him up in a carefree environment and taught him to let go of the past since you cannot do anything about it anyways. But of course, you can't run forever, and he is eventually discovered and brought back to his home, where he challenges and overpowers his uncle for the claim of the throne, and finally, he restores order to the land. To this day, I love this film because all the lessons scattered throughout it. But I particularly appreciate the idea of family responsibility and honor that underlies it all. Yes, Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
As I already said, I'm fond of watching sci-fi and animated movie. But coming to this specific one, if I must say my favorite movie, so here in account I say the Avengers and their series. It is it is American superheroes film based on Marvel comic superhero about a film about film. It is about the superheroes of America, and which fascinated me and gives vivid views about friendship and responsibility towards your society as well as your loved one. And coming to the message that gives from the movie that we view on it is that we always have to unite we always have to be in unity and stay humble to each and everyone, even it like if it is known, like it is a known person to you, or it's like anyone, you should always have to be humble and humble and helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That's
All
all
right.
about my
All right.
mo- thank you,
That was
ma'am.
like 1 minute and 15 seconds. Really good, but we will try to make it more detailed and longer. Basically, what you could do is to give like a plot line, right? So, how the story goes. So, while giving your answer, try to imagine that the person sitting next to you or in front of you has absolutely no idea what you're talking about. So basically, you need to explain that person every single detail as if that person is a child that knows absolutely nothing. So, for example, imagine that I haven't seen or heard anything about the Avengers and try to tell me what happens in that movie in detail. And then you will both speak longer and you will also have those details that are really important in IELTS speaking, basically. I
Yeah,
think that's a
sure,
really
ma'am.
good. Yeah, I think that's a really good way of ensuring that we have enough detail. Pretending that the person sitting next to us, sitting in front of us, has no information on this subject. All right.
Okay, so should I start again, if you allow
Not
me?
really. I just wanted to
Okay,
give that like
overview.
advice in general. Yeah.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. Really good. So, for example, since no one else has raised their hands, I will explain why this answer is good after Vaji. Yes. Go ahead, Vaji. Thank you.
I'm very much into technology and comedy movies, as I said earlier. But if I talk about a specific movie which I choose, a story-wise or any type of movies, I like the movie Tare Zameen Par. It is a Bollywood movie. If I talk about the film, it is about a kid and his teacher, where a kid is like everyone say he's a dumb kid, but his teacher believe in him, and he think that every children has something which other don't have, like from the God. So that's why he believe in him, and I like that this movie just because of this story because I relate to it. Like if I see around myself, there are some kids which everyone say he is dumb, he cannot do anything in his life, but someone believe in him, and when someone believe in him and give an opportunity to do anything in his life, that he can achieve something in life which no one can do. And the message the movie gave to us, we have to believe in our kids. Like if someone is not that sharp and strong physically and mentally, we just have to believe in our kids, and we have to give them the belief he can do anything in his life. So, as I know and I read somewhere, every child has something unique, and we just have to search what is the uniqueness of this kid, and we have to help them. So, that's the message that's the reason which I select this movie. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was 1 minute, 38 seconds. Really, really good. You've also exceeded the 1.5 minutes time limit. That was really good. And throughout your answer, you've of course made some mistakes. It's all right. Some grammatical mistakes, some vocabulary mistakes. But overall, you had good detailing and you've answered all the questions. You understood the question and gave a relevant response. You did not have that time to think, so you did not stop while you're speaking, which were all really, really good. Thank you all so much. What about others? Anyone else who wants to answer this question? I think that would really, really help with your speaking part too, since it's a really important part of the speaking. Yes, Mohsin, go ahead.
Favorite Quran. English meaning is heart. The movie is a Bengali movie, and I'm from Bangladesh. That's why I love to watch Bengali film. The movie is based on love, where we can find a girl just playing with the boys that he loves them, but actually
Your voice kind of comes and goes. I'm sorry.
my earphone is not that good, so that's why
It's all right. I couldn't hear the last few things that you've said. Can you repeat that?
ma'am, it's a movie based on love, where
Mhm.
a girl playing with the boys that she loves them, but actually she's and in this movie she just play with the boys, and this is later she have to pay for this because when she betray with a boy, then then her second lover.
All right. Is that it, or did you? Is your microphone just went? I cannot hear you. Can you hear your friend? Is it just me? Can you hear Mohsin? You can use the chat box to answer me. Maybe some network or microphone issues. All right. So you cannot hear him as well. So I'll come back. I'm speaking, but my microphone is not working. So sorry. It's all right, Mohsin. I'm sorry. But as long as I've heard, so you've kind of gave a relevant response. So you were talking about a love movie, a romantic movie. Um, so I think it was going well, as far as I could hear. But yeah, I hope to. I hope that you fix your microphone problem or network problem, whatever it is, and we can speak more in detail in our next sessions. That would be really good. But thank you and sorry. There's nothing I can do. No, no, don't be sorry. It's all right. Technology is really good as long as it works. Other than that, it's kind of disappoints us, basically. Any others who want to answer this question? If not, let's talk about why this answer is good. So this answer that you see on the screen is good and it gets a band 9 because, as you can see, it talks about this movie in in a really detailed manner. Basically, even if someone who does not seen The Lion King can understand what the plot line is and why it is good and why it affects so many people and where the idea to that movie came from and how it affects our life basically. So it gives a really good detailed description of that plot line and that movie. But also it also uses like a lot of different grammatical structures. So for example, it uses relative clauses as it says which, or uh, where are they? There were a lot of relative clauses. So they use which and linking words such as however, and they also use like passive voice. So when you hear or read this answer, you can see that the test taker knows a lot of different subjects like grammar topics, and you can also actually hear them in their answer. And also, this answer has a lot of different vocabularies too. So it doesn't say my favorite movie is that. Instead, it says there's one film that I can never get bored. So I never get bored watching this movie since it's my favorite. So it changes the structure of the question and it changes the words of the question as well, and kind of shows the examiner that the test taker has a lot of different vocabularies, words in their minds that they can use while speaking. So let's have that question. Mohsin, you asked, how can we improve our speaking abilities? Basically, practice. The first and most important thing to improve your speaking is practice. You can use a recording device and kind of record yourself speaking, and then try to listen to it afterwards and try to find that mistake or maybe what you could have done better and kind of evaluate yourself. But since it's hard to sometimes evaluate ourselves, I would also encourage all of you to try to have those like discussions, those speaking practices with others. That can be your friends, family members, me, other people, like people you know, other things basically. And practice with actual people and ask them to give you something, give you a feedback, like whether it was good, bad, what band score would it get, what could be improved, basically. Practice is everything. But other than that, I would also advise you to try to uh, use different vocabularies, different words. So, for example, sequel, plotline, all the words that we've learned today, and try to kind of incorporate them in your answer. And you can do this by looking at them at first if you have just learned them. But if you've known them for a long time, just try to remember them and they will come up to your mind as you practice more easily, basically. All right, no worries. Now, let's go to the third part. This is the last part of your speaking exam, where you will be asked questions regarding the answers that you've given on the second part, and also some questions that were also pre-prepared. So you can have questions both depending on your answer and some pre-prepared questions. And our first question is, do you think the cinema has increased or decreased in popularity in recent years? What do you think about that? Do you think the cinema has increased or decreased in popularity in recent years? And Abby, I've seen your question. I will, reply after this question, as you have said. All right. I think people go to cinema less and less as years go by. See what I did there? I paraphrased the question. I actually told the same thing, but I paraphrased it. So people go to cinema less and less with each year because other platforms such as Netflix and Disney Plus have gained so much popularity because they're really convenient to use, because they're just in our home whenever we want and we can watch any movie without paying any extra. So I think cinema has lost its popularity because of sites like Netflix and Disney Plus. What about you guys? I know we've kind of talked about this before, but before when we talked about this, we talked about our choices. But right now, we're talking about cinema popularity in general, which are different things, actually. So, how you answer this question really affects, really differs from how you answer the first question, actually. Yes, Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. In my point of view, I must say that cinema nowadays it is like increasingly reduced for watching and going there to watch a new release movie or and so because nowadays we all are familiar with OTT platform like Netflix, Hotstar, Disney Plus Hotstar, or in my country there are some more OTT apps available like Sony Live app and boot select. So in coming generation or in nowadays there are much reduction in the like cinema hall that people are going and watching their movies which is released in the hall rather than watching in the home with their loved one and in a low cost actually. So it is just because of that, and everyone is preferring to be at their home because of this virus also that hits very badly in most of the countries. So they all are rather than going to cinema or supermarket or malls, they must stay in their home and they watch their films.
All right, thank you so much.
Sure, ma'am.
Really good answer, really detailed. It was a bit long, but it's all right. I just want to tell everyone that if sometimes the examiner stops you during your answer, it's all right. They just have a time limit and they need to see the other test takers. So they might stop you. I might stop you. Don't worry about that. It doesn't reduce your point. It's just due to that time limit that the examiner has. All right. So to answer your question, Abby, how to improve tenses? Basically, I think uh, so. This works. For example, you're talking, and there are also some how to say this, like not recorders, but those programs that type what you're saying. So basically, when you talk, it shows up on the screen as words. Do you know what it means? Um, yeah, all right. If you know what it means, yeah. So basically, if you talk while that thing types, then you can kind of review your own answer and kind of see where you did wrong. So, for example, if you say is instead of are, you can see that clearly in that sentence because it's written in front of you. And you can try to avoid that mistake next time, basically. So you will know in which part you make those mistakes. So it's a singular or plural or past tense or present tense. And then you can, yeah, like Google search engine gives us voice typing, definitely like that. Whichever program you're using, it's all right as long as it types what you're writing, sorry, saying. So you can use something like that, and you can also ask the other person who you're practicing with to kind of point out every grammatical mistake that you make, and it will get better as you practice, I promise. All right, let's talk about the second question, or you can also answer the first question as well. Do women and men like to watch the same kinds of movies? So, for example, I think people from all genders uh, like to watch every kind of movie. I don't think there is a gender specific choice on which, so who likes which movies. Um, so I'm not really into that idea that women like romantic movies and men like action movies kind of difference. or yeah, stuff like that. What about you guys? Yes, Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. In my opinion, I never bifurcated or I never think of this that men or women like a specific kind of movies. But I must say, in earlier part of India or maybe in globally, there are some bifurcation uses like men's like some actions movie and women's or girls will prefer to watch loves movie, romantic movie and all. So, in my point of view, I never thought of it that nowadays that women's or men's are differentiated or their thoughts of differentiating to watch such kinds of movie. Nowadays, everyone is watching all kinds of all genres movies. Like even it's a sci-fi or it's animated or it's romantic or it's comedy. All kinds of genre will loved by everyone.
Yes, thank you. That was really
Thank you,
good.
ma'am.
This things was really good too. Any others who want to answer this question? Sorry. Yes, Reggie, go ahead.
As per my observations around me, I think that all kind of genders, like men, women, like to watch every type of movies. But there are some categories like action movies. I can say maybe I'm wrong, but men more love to watch action movies as compared to the women. Like if we talk about some romantic movies, then we can say women love to watch that. And there is a kind of movie like comedy movie which is common in both men and women. They love to watch. But if I talk about the technology movies, men are more into it. That's it's my observation.
All right, thank you so much. Any others? If not, let's go on to the idioms and collocations. So, our first word today is to make one's blood run cold, which means to make somebody very frightened or fill them with horror. So, for example, the sound of laughter in the empty house made my blood run cold. So, there's an empty house, but there's also laughter coming. I can hear it, laughter. I can hear someone laughing, and that makes my blood run cold. So it makes me feel frightened and I'm filled with horror, like in horror movies, definitely, as Abby says on the chat box. So when we say we're frightened, we can say it made my blood run cold, basically. And if by chance you get the movie topic in your speaking exam, you can always use make one's blood run cold and show the examiner that you know these different words and vocabularies and idioms and collocations that you can use on a daily basis. That would be really good. And the second one today is to keep someone on the edge of someone's seat. So you can say the last scenes keep me on the edge of my seat, which would mean that to make someone, especially a member of an audience, feel very excited. So you cannot sit. You just want to like get up and do something. You're very excited, nervous, or you're anxious. So basically, you're barely sitting. You want to just get up, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it doesn't matter. Whether it's a positive excitement or a negative one, it doesn't really matter. You're just sitting on the edge of your seat, so it keeps you on the edge of your seat. Sorry. All right. Like the movie was complicated, but the ending was hilarious. What do you mean by that, Abby? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, like I want to convey that if like I'm watching some movies and it is very complicated to understand, so I made a sentence like movie was really complicated, but the ending was hilarious to understand. So in
Hmm.
this sentence, na, like idioms and phrase that keep on the edge of seat. So it is very like hilarious to understand.
Hmm. But
But
the keeping on the edge of someone's seat does not really say that something
like
is
suspense.
hilarious. Mhm.
Okay.
It kind of tells that you get nervous or excited, so you can barely sit. So, for example, when you're watching Avengers, right?
Yeah.
There's a fight scene, and you don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. So you just want to like
Mm.
out of
Yeah,
anxiety.
okay, ma'am. Now, yeah,
You
now I get it. Yeah,
understand.
sure. I just take it to the wrong way, actually.
It's all right.
Thank you,
Now
ma'am.
do you understand it?
Definitely, ma'am.
All right,
I get it.
perfect. All right, perfect. Kind of nail biting, yes. So you're on the edge of your seat, nail biting, and like want to know what happens next, basically. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Now that we've got that covered, let's talk about the last one, which is thought provoking. So when a book or a film makes you think of new things. So, for example, The Lion King makes you think about friendships and family and the importance of them. So, new ideas. Uh, that movie becomes thought provoking. Basically, Ray Bradbury's novel, Fahrenheit 451, is deeply thought provoking. I had to rethink my attitude towards legislation and censorship after I read it. So basically, that novel made me think of new things, new ideas about legislation and censorship. And for example, Avengers might make you think about, let's say, friendship, or a love movie, a romantic movie might make you think of love, like what is it and what happens when you're in love, basically. So when something makes you think about other things, it is thought provoking, basically. Now, if I were you, I would make note of these idioms and collocations and I would try to learn what they mean and try to incorporate them in my speaking later on. So I will give you like a few seconds. Already taken? Perfect. All right, let's move on then. So, what you're going to do next, what you should do next to improve your speaking is to practice as much as you can because practice makes perfect. And if you want, you can join our other live lessons. We have reading, speaking, writing, listening, and introduction to IELTS courses throughout the week. So we have one class every day. And to learn when they are, you can check the timetable on the Clasital webpage. And you can also look at our library, also in the Clasital webpage, where we talk about different things, like different parts of the exam, and where we give like detailed information on what each part wants. Thank you for joining. Before you go, I want you to, I hope you fill out that survey that I am sending you to the link now, if I can. Um, my computer completely froze. I cannot do anything right now. Yes, I did send you the link. I would be really happy if you filled that up, if you completed that survey. I would be really happy. I will give you permission to speak. Um, just before you go, I would be really happy if you filled that survey up. I would really appreciate it. My name is Gizem. Uh, Thank you. Thank you, Masim, for your good words. Yes, Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. Can you just give me some feedbacks, like where I have to improve, and if
I
I
will.
get it really, yeah,
I will. I
you
will.
get
Don't
my point,
worry.
na? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just wanted everyone to fill that survey up before I start
Okay, yes, I'm just
speaking.
doing, sure, not
Yeah,
an issue.
yeah. All right. Thank you, Masin, for inviting us to Bangladesh. You're all invited to Turkey, by the way. We can meet up and talk like in face to face. All right. So, for those of you who want to go, I will see you later tomorrow. I hope you filled out the survey. And for those of you who want to stay and talk about their feedbacks, I'm here. Yes, Waji, go ahead.
Ma'am, will you upload this session on YouTube?
Yes, I believe we will. We have recorded the whole session.
Okay, because I want to listen to what I said in this session to improve more. It will help
Sure.
me. That's why I
Yeah,
said.
that would be really helpful. I will check, but we will probably will.
Thank you for the session.
All right. Thank you so much for your answers and your participation. So, Abi and Waji, you were the two people that spoke mostly. And I think you both would get something like a 6.5, around something like that. Your answers were usually really detailed and you gave relevant responses. There were also some like missing things, like grammatical mistakes. Um, we kind of missed that different vocabulary in our answers. So, for example, as we have talked about, if the question asks, "What is your favorite movie?" I think it would be better to say, I enjoy watching movies like this and that. Abi, as I remember from our last sessions, you've also attended some of them. Your use of vocabulary has definitely developed. So you're using more like different words. Sorry. Yeah, all right. So you're using like various words as like compared to how you started at first. But there could also be some improvements for both of you. And and that's why I'm kind of saying like you would get something like a 6.5 or 7. Uh, but to get more band scores, like the higher band scores, we would have to first um, like talk more in detail, talk about our subjects more, have like various different vocabularies, and especially collocations and idioms, because they sound really natural while we're speaking. And it shows the examiner, they show the examiner that we know all these different idioms and collocations, and they increase our points dramatically. And um, I've been distracted. I'm sorry, by your um, sentence on the chat box. So paraphrasing the sentences. So paraphrasing sentences is really important. To do that, to develop that, to improve yourself on that, you can also actually study writing, because in the writing part as well, what we do is that we paraphrase the information given to us, and we can start out paraphrasing our paraphrasing thing by writing the paraphrased versions in the IELTS writing part, and then we could try to do the same while we're speaking, basically. Because paraphrasing is kind of a skill that you need both in the writing and the speaking section. And if you write and try to read that out loud, you will improve your paraphrasing skills both in the writing part and the speaking part, basically. And also, to improve your paraphrasing skills, you can also uh, study for the synonyms of the words. So, for example, as we have talked about in this class, instead of saying I like, we can say I enjoy, I am fond of, I am keen on, or I forgot the last one. I'm interested in, I think it was that. So we can try to use and learn the synonyms of the things that we use frequently. So, like and dislike will probably come up in your exam. You will have to say like or dislike somehow. Yes, you used I can't get enough of it. I also took note of that as a really good paraphrasing, and actually you got a 7 for that answer. The answer that you've used, I can't get enough of it, you got a 7. Um, so yeah, basically use the synonyms, learn the synonyms, and you will get better as you use them, because you will have to use them quite frequently. Yes, Abby, go ahead.
I'm sorry to bother you again. Actually, it's my last question. I just want to ask you that in the second part na, of speaking, you said that note na, that we have to come up with these four question and all in the heading and the four sub questions. So I was just I'm just thinking about it that I asked about you the paraphrasing the sentence. So it is really we have to paraphrase that sentence, and after that, we'll have to reply, or we can continue in that talk only, like in the algorithm. We can directly
Basically,
go with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
basically you can do whatever you want, because after you've paraphrased the question,
yeah,
uh, you will show the examiner, you will have showed the examiner that you know how to paraphrase something. Then, of course, it would be better if you used other synonyms, like different ways of saying the same thing. But if you worry about that too much too, then you will also kind of stop to think for a second, and we don't want that as well. Basically, whatever you can do quickly works best. But at the first sentence, like just starting your sentence, your answer, I would suggest you, I would suggest you to use that paraphrased version, because as a first impression, the examiner will know that you can paraphrase things. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. I'll work on it definitely.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're not bothering me at all. I just I want to be helpful, and
Sure, sure,
that's
ma'am.
what I'm
Thank you,
here
ma'am.
for. All right. Any other questions? I'm sending you the survey link again if it's like really on top. As I've said, my name is Gizem. The survey will ask you my name. And this was the speaking workshop. I would be really glad if you filled that survey form up, because we really pay attention to those. We really care what you're writing, what you're saying about this class, and we try to improve it as much as we can. So I would really appreciate it if you filled that survey form up. I hope to see you all in our next classes. Tomorrow we have the writing session, as we have said, and we have other like reading, listening classes all week long. I hope to see you again. Thank you so much. Bye.